In this video, I want to go over how to determine the quadrant of an angle fast. Now, this is a pretty important concept that we need to make sure we understand, which I'll go over a little bit later in this video of why we're going to use this or how it can be done. But typically when we have easy angles, with a little practice, it doesn't really become that difficult to be able to identify the quadrant that the angle lies in. So in this video, what I want to do is focus on some of those more difficult angles that is not something that you see common in a textbook, but we can still use the exact same process to identify which quadrant the angle lies in. So let's go and do just a quick little review of our quadrants, and then we'll talk about angles as well as the importance of this process and what we can do to think about this. So therefore we don't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out where the quadrant lies in. So in here, we have our Cartesian coordinate system, and here is going to be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now, when we're dealing with angles, we have an initial and a terminal side. So the initial side is always going to be our positive side of our x-axis, okay? So this is going to be the initial side. And then we're going to rotate counterclockwise to go in the positive direction, and then clockwise is going to be going in the negative direction. Now, when we're given an angle, either in radians or in degrees, for this video, we're going to focus on radians. Why is understanding which quadrant the angle lies in is so important? Well, the reason why this is important is because when we're going to be evaluating like that angle in a trigonometric function, we need to understand is the x or the y coordinate and or both are going to be positive and negative. Because when we have an angle that lies on the in the first quadrant, we know the x coordinates of where that angle would cross the unit circle, or really for any points that are in that quadrant, are both going to be positive. The x and the y are both positive. In the second quadrant, we have our x coordinate is negative, the y coordinate is positive, and the third quadrant, we have both of them are going to be negative, and the fourth quadrant, we have our x coordinate is positive, but our y coordinate is negative. This is really important, and it can be the difference between you getting the problem right as well as getting the problem wrong. So we need to make sure we understand the angles and where they lie. Now, again, I mentioned if I say like pi over 4, a lot of students recognize, Mr. McLogan, that's in the first quadrant. Or if I say a negative 2 pi over 3, we go in the negative direction and we go and we identify that in the third quadrant. A lot of these are fairly simple, right? But what about when we have larger angles or when our denominator is something different, like it's in terms of 5 or in 7? How can we use our understanding of trigonometric angles to identify, no matter what our angle is, which quadrant it lies in? So it really all kind of comes down into understanding how we break up that unit circle with our angles. So I'm going to talk about here in the positive version, but then I'll do an example with a negative angle. So when we're looking at the unit circle, and I'm going to try to see if I can get something nice and good here. Nope, it doesn't want to do that. Okay. It's a little oval, but that's okay. So when we're dealing with the unit circle and we're talking about angles from there, we talk about the rotation of halfway around the circle is going to be pi. All the way around the circle would be 2 pi. Half of our quadrant, or 90 degrees, would be an angle of pi halves. And all the way around the circle would be a 3 pi halves. Now, when we're talking about something in terms of fourths or in thirds or even in sixths, we can still recreate these in those exact same, we can recreate these ratios just with a different denominator. Say if I was going to talk about things in terms of fourths, right, I could break this up into 4 equal parts. Well, then now, instead of it being a pi, we could call this a 4 pi over 4. It's still equal to 1, but now it's in terms of fourths. Over here, we could rewrite this as a 2 pi over 4. And then over here, we can multiply that or represent this as a 6 pi over 4. And then all the way around the circle, we could represent as fourths as 8 pi over 4. And again, these all reduce into that form, right? But what I really want you to focus on, and again, I could do the exact same thing for thirds and sixths, and it doesn't really matter how we want to break up that triangle. Okay, so I could break this up into 6, and then we could do the same thing. That's 1 over pi over 6, 2 pi over 6. We could call this 3 pi over 6, right? And then we could do this one would be a 6 pi over 6. I guess I'll just do one more example, right? Over here, we could do this as a 9 pi over 6, and then over here, we could represent this as a 12 pi over 6. So I think it's good to have 2 examples because here is the relationship I want you to see. When we're halfway around the circle, that has the same denominator as the numerator, as those coefficients, right, with pi. So 6 pi over 6, 4 pi over 4. Basically, your coefficient, or your numerator over your denominator, is going to be equal to 1. For that half angle over here, the numerator over denominator is going to be equivalent to like a 1/2. Actually, let's do this in different colors because I don't want to confuse it with the angles. So let's go ahead and rewrite here. The ratio over here is going to be a 1/2. The ratio over here is going to be equivalent to 1. Over here is going to be equivalent to a 3/2. So a 3/2, and over here it's going to be equivalent to a 2. Okay. Now you could also think of this in decimal form as a 0.5, and you could think of this as a 1.5. Sometimes that's very helpful when we're dealing with angles that are kind of a little more difficult. So I'm pretty sure for most students, if I give them an angle that's already on the unit circle, they're like, you know enough, or hopefully with some practice, you will know enough to be able to identify the quadrant. But again, the purpose of this video was to address, what about when we have a problem like this? Like example of negative 17 pi over 5. How do we identify what angle or what quadrant this angle lies in? And how can we do it rather quickly? So the first thing I look at this, when I look at this problem, I just think of negative 7 pi over 5. Okay. And what I'm doing in my brain is I'm taking out the period. So I can rewrite a negative 17 pi over 5 as a negative 10 pi over 5 plus a 7 pi over 5. Okay, notice how I put the negative on the outside. But what's important about this is I broke this up with what we call period as an aid. Because if you recognize 10 pi over 2, that's equal to 2, right? Or the 10 over 5, that's equal to 2. That's a full revolution of our circle. Now, I did mention we are doing a negative, so let's kind of go through that. So a 10 pi over 5, that is just one revolution around the circle. Okay, so it takes us back to our initial point, our starting point, and that's why we can just kind of disregard it. It's just an extra revolution. So what we need to focus on is our negative 7 pi over 5. Where is that going to take us? Okay, now I know that over here, it'd be 1, right? So that's going to be a negative 5 pi over 5. That would be this angle from there to there. Okay. Negative 5 pi over 5 would take us right there. We're at a negative 7 pi over 5. So is that going to be here, or is that going to be back into the first quadrant, right? So we got to think about that. Now, what I want you to think about this is going to be a 1.5, or if you think about this in the negative direction, that would, or sorry, yeah, in the negative direction, that'd be roughly a 1.5 from on there. Now, if you were to break this up into 5 parts, what I want to do is think about, well, if I have 5 and I'm breaking it up in half, right? I say 5 divided by 2, that is equal to a 2.5, right? So that's kind of like our middle version here that we're dealing with. So I don't know what I was really going with on there. But 5 broken up into 2 parts, that's going to be roughly a 2.5. So from here to here, right, it's 5 equal parts. We can break up half a circle into 5 parts, half the circle over here into 5 parts. But what I want you to be able to see is if I was going to break this up, it would roughly be 2 parts, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, right? It's roughly 2.5 is the middle version. Now we only have an extra 2 units, right? Because I can break this up into a negative 5 pi over 5 plus a 2 pi over 5. So this is going to take me through my first or my fourth and my third quadrant, and then I have 2 more extra. Now 2.5 would take me in the middle, so therefore I can determine that this is going to be 3. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it just takes a little bit of practice, but I think the main important thing is when not only do you need to understand how to graph or what that graph looks like, use period as an aid, but then also understand no matter what the denominator is, just use the same relationships of halfway around circle is the same denominator as the same numerator, right? All the way around circle is double whatever the denominator is in your numerator. And then you can just use fractions. You can use decimals as you need to, as you kind of understand it. And you can be able to determine the quadrant that an angle lies in very, very quickly. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like these videos where I go over something and at least some tips to be able to do things fast, then check out the playlist I have for you down below. And if you want more videos on me working through trig and dealing with angles in the unit circle, then check out the next video I have for you here. Cheers.